My name is Patrick Bamford, 35 years old, a martial arts instructor living in Billings, Montana. My life, in essence, is a series of fights, not just on the training mat, but also within the emotional scars I try to keep hidden. I teach martial arts to teenagers, kids from poor neighborhoods on the outskirts, hoping they'll learn to defend themselves before life knocks them down. That night it was bitterly cold, with heavy snow falling outside the gym's windows. I was leading a late class, sweating under my karate robe, shouting basic commands, "Stance firm, hands up, punch harder." The kids were exhausted but enthusiastic, the sounds of their punches and kicks echoing in the cramped space. I liked nights like this. They helped me forget the past, the long nights in Sheridan, Wyoming, where I was born and raised like a shadow in my own home. The wall clock showed 9 p.m., and I was thinking about wrapping up the class to head home, to hug my wife and young daughter goodnight. But then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at the screen, an unknown number, Wyoming area code. My heart tightened slightly. Who would call at this hour? I signaled for the kids to take a break and stepped into the dark hallway, where cold air seeped through the door's cracks. "Hello?" My voice echoed, trying to stay calm. "Is this Patrick Bamford?" "This is the Sheridan Police Department. I'm Lieutenant Harris." The man's voice on the other end was low, tinged with hesitation. I immediately sensed the gravity like an unexpected punch to the gut. "Yes, it's me." "What's going on?" I asked, gripping the phone tightly. Billings is over 150 miles from Sheridan, and I hadn't been back there in years. No reason to return. Nothing but bad memories. "We're contacting you about Mrs. Donna Bamford, your mother. She was found about an hour ago, curled up outside a gas station off the highway. Barefoot, face bruised, clothes torn. It's snowing heavily, as you know. She's at the station with us now, being kept warm and given food, but her condition isn't great." His words hit like a bomb exploding in my mind. "Mom? Donna Bamford, the woman I once loved but who now is just a faint shadow in my memory? I hadn't spoken to her in how long? 5 years? Longer? The last time was a brief call on my birthday. She asked how I was doing and hung up quickly as if afraid someone was listening. What? Found at a gas station? Barefoot in the snow?" I stammered, my voice trembling. The image of my mother, the woman who once held me as I cried during my father's drunken nights, now curled up in the snow, face bruised. It choked me. Lieutenant Harris sighed. "Yes, sir. We suspect this is a case of physical and emotional abuse." She won't say much, just muttering that I just slipped. But the injuries on her face, her hands, they're not from a fall. "We're investigating, but she needs family. You're the only emergency contact listed in her file." Abuse. The word pierced through me like a blade. Who would dare do this to my mother? But deep down, I knew. Sean, my older brother, the one I once called Big Brother, with a mix of fear and hatred. I hadn't seen him since I left Sheridan 15 years ago, but memories of him still haunted me every night. I'll come right away," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Thank you for calling." Hanging up, I stood frozen in the cold hallway. The kids in the gym were still laughing, oblivious. I felt the world around me collapse. Mom, the woman who had endured so much from my father to now Sean? I rushed to the locker room, grabbed my truck keys, and shouted to my assistant, "Finish the class for me, emergency." Without waiting for a response, I ran to my old truck, its engine roaring in the dead of night. Snow fell heavily, obscuring the streetlights. I drove out of Billings, heading north toward Sheridan, over 150 miles of road through a blizzard. My heart pounded, adrenaline surging. This wasn't just a trip, it was a journey to confront the past I'd tried to bury. Mom needed me, and for the first time in years, I felt I had to return. I rushed to my old pickup truck, tossing my bag onto the back seat, too hurried to call my wife, Sydney. She'd worry, but I didn't want to drag her into this mess. Not now. The I-90 highway was pitch black, my headlights cutting through a blinding curtain of snow. It started as a light flurry but quickly thickened, as if the heavens were trying to hold me back. The wind howled, shaking the truck, forcing me to grip the steering wheel tightly to stay on course. Visibility was down to a few meters, everything blurred like a nightmare. I turned on the radio, hoping music would drown out the eerie silence. But all I got was weather reports. High-level blizzard, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Travel advisories in effect. I switched it off, not wanting to hear it. Instead, I called Sydney through the truck speaker. "Honey, I have to go to Wyoming now." "Mom, something's happened." My voice trembled, struggling to stay calm. Sydney's questions came fast, her tone anxious. "What's wrong, Patrick? What happened to Mom? Are you going alone?" I cut her off. "I'll be fine. I love you and our girl. I'll call later." I hung up, tears stinging my eyes. Sydney and our 3-year-old daughter were my new world, a place free of violence, free of shadows. But now, I was diving back into the old darkness. As the truck sped through snow-covered fields, childhood memories flooded back like an uncontrollable torrent. Sheridan, Wyoming, the place where I was born and raised. A small town with familiar streets, weathered wooden houses, and harsh winters like this one. I remembered clearly. As a kid, snowy nights like these were a nightmare. My father, James Bamford, would come home late from the bar, reeking of alcohol. A heavy drinker, he lost job after job, and each time he took it out on Mom. "Who do you think you are, Donna? I feed you. You should be grateful," he'd yell, then hit, then curse. The sound of his blows echoed through thin walls, followed by Mom's muffled sobs. I, an 8-year-old boy, huddled under my blanket, praying it would end. But it never did. Dad neglected us, caring only for his liquor and his violence. Sean, my older brother, 5 years my senior, saw it all. He didn't cry like I did, he copied. From a young age, Sean believed violence is control. That's what he'd say after beating me over a toy. "You're too weak, Patrick. You've got to be tough to survive." He mimicked Dad perfectly, punching me in the stomach when I cried, hiding my things so I'd get scolded, even locking me outside in the snow to make me a man. One time, on a snowy night like this, Sean shoved me into the backyard and locked the door. "Stay out there and learn, kid." I still remember the bone-chilling cold, tears freezing on my cheeks. Mom knew but stayed silent. She favored Sean, always protecting him to keep the family together. "Sean's just playing, Patrick. Don't make a big deal out of it," she'd say, her eyes full of guilt. She endured abuse from her husband, then fell into the same cycle with her eldest son after Dad. Our father died. Dad passed 10 years ago in a drunken car accident. I thought things would get better. Mom would be free, no longer beaten. But no. Sean moved back in with her and the cycle continued. He controlled her, took her savings, yelled at her in front of neighbors. I heard bits and pieces through rare phone calls. Sean forced her to obey him, using violence to teach her. Mom had endured it from her husband, now from her son. Why didn't she leave? Why did she stay silent? I was angry at her for that, so angry I cut off contact. She chose this. Let her deal with it, I told myself when I left Sheridan at 18, heading to Billings to study martial arts, build my dojo, and create a new life. Now, driving through the storm, I regretted it. The wind grew fiercer, nearly pushing the truck off the road. I slowed down, my heart pounding erratically. An oncoming semi-truck roared past, its headlights blinding, nearly clipping me. I honked furiously, cursing, "Damn it!" Adrenaline surged, my hands shaking on the wheel. This wasn't just a blizzard, it was the storm inside me. Memories kept flooding back, sharper than ever. I recalled one night when I was 12. Dad came home drunk, saw the dinner was cold, and slapped Mom so hard she fell, blood trickling from her mouth. Sean stood there, not intervening, even laughing. She deserved it, not listening. I rushed in, trying to push Dad away, but he grabbed my hair and threw me down. "You're weak, Patrick. Not like Sean," he growled. Mom cried, but still defended him. Don't tell anyone, son. It's our family. She wiped the blood, hugged me, but her eyes looked at Sean with love. Favoritism. Always. She favored Sean because he was like Dad, strong, controlling. Me, the sensitive youngest who preferred books over fighting, was looked down on by Dad and bullied physically and emotionally by my brother. Route 87 appeared, a sign I was nearing Sheridan. Snow clung thickly to the windshield, the wipers screeching. I glanced at the clock. Nearly 2 a.m. Over 150 miles, but it felt like thousands of miles of memories. I remembered rare family outings, Dad driving, Mom beside him, Sean and me in the back. They always ended in fights. Dad drunk, yelling at Mom for forgetting something. Sean mocking me. Scared, little boy? Mom silent, stroking Sean's hair. That favoritism hurt. I was the youngest, sensitive, but the only one who saw the wrongness. That's why I took up martial arts, to protect myself, to stop being weak. At my Billings dojo, I taught kids how to stand firm against life's punches. Now I had to apply that to myself. The wind howled, the truck swaying violently. I pulled over briefly, catching my breath. My heart raced, cold sweat beating despite the freezing air. I have to get there, I told myself. Mom's waiting. I restarted the truck and plunged back into the blizzard ahead. My headlights sliced through the blinding white curtain of snow, but visibility was down to a few meters, as if the heavens were trying to stop me from reaching Mom. Every second was a battle, my hands gripping the steering wheel until they ached. The image of Mom, barefoot, face bruised, curled up in the snow, kept swirling in my mind like a knife twisting. I'd left her alone with Sean for too long. Regret clawed at me, but I knew now wasn't the time for self-blame. I had to act. After hours of tense driving, the sign for Route 87 loomed faintly. The gas station where the officer said Mom was found. I screeched to a stop out front, the snowy wind whipping my face like lashes. I rushed inside, the warmth from the small gas station's heater greeting me, but it couldn't thaw the icy dread in my chest. In the corner, 2 officers stood beside a frail woman wrapped in a thick rescue blanket, clutching a steaming coffee mug. It was my mother, Donna Bamford. Her face was bruised, one cheek swollen like a balloon, lips cracked, eyes red from crying. Her feet were bandaged with clean cloths, but the raw, frost-bitten redness still showed. She looked older, fragile, like a leaf torn from its branch by the winter wind. Mom, my voice broke. I knelt before her, hugging her tightly, feeling her thin, trembling body under the blanket. Her tears rolled down, soaking into my shirt. Patrick, you came. Her voice was faint, like a breeze passing through a window. The lead officer, a middle-aged man with a thick beard, stepped forward, patting my shoulder gently. Mr. Bamford, we found her on Route 87, curled up near the gas station's dumpster. Barefoot, no coat, face. Well, you see, lucky the night shift worker called us in time. We've kept her warm, given her hot soup and coffee, but she won't say much. We suspect domestic abuse. Abuse. The word stabbed my heart like a cold blade. I nodded, swallowing hard to keep my voice steady, but my hands clenched, trembling. Thank you, officers. Mom, who did this? Was it Sean? I asked bluntly, my voice lowering with anger. Mom flinched, her eyes widening in fear, shaking her head frantically as if by reflex. No, Patrick. I just slipped. The snow was slick. I was careless. Don't worry, I'm fine. She tried to smile, but it was crooked, pained, overshadowed by the bruise on her face. I knew instantly it was a lie. She'd always done this. Covered for Dad when he was alive, now for Sean to keep the family together. I looked at the officer, who exchanged a glance with his partner, shrugging helplessly. We'll file a preliminary report, but if she doesn't cooperate, there's little we can do. You should take her to a hospital to check for head trauma or internal injuries. I nodded, helping Mom stand. She shuffled slowly, clinging to my arm, each step like treading on invisible pain. The blizzard outside still raged. I shielded her with my jacket, opened the truck door, and eased her into the front seat. I wrapped the blanket tightly around her, cranking the heater to full blast. "Mom, I'm taking you to a nearby motel to rest and warm up. We're not going home yet." She didn't protest, just nodded wearily, eyes closed as if escaping reality. The truck rolled forward, leaving the gas station and the officer's sympathetic looks in the rearview mirror. Sheridan's streets were hazy in the snow, but I didn't look around. I focused only on Mom, on her faint breaths beside me. In the warm truck cabin, amid the hum of the engine and the howling wind outside, Mom suddenly opened her eyes. She looked at me, her eyes full of worry, her voice a hoarse whisper as if afraid someone might hear. "Patrick, don't let your brother take everything. He wants it all." Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. I slowed down, glancing at her, my heart pounding. "Everything? What do you mean? The house, the money?" She sighed deeply, her trembling hand grasping mine on the gear shift. "Yes, the house, the land, the savings account. Sean forced me to sign transfer papers. I refused, he got angry, hit me, threw me out to teach me a lesson. Don't let him take it all. It's your father's legacy. Ours." Tears streamed down her face, and I felt her deep fear. Not just of being beaten, but of losing everything she'd fought to hold on to. Rage boiled inside me, a fire flaring up. Sean, my brother. The one I'd cut off long ago, now not only beating Mom, but plotting to steal everything. This wasn't just domestic violence, it was calculated theft. I pulled into an old motel, its neon vacancy sign flickering in the dark. I carried Mom inside. She was light as a child. I set her on the bed, covering her with thick blankets, the room's creaky heater humming in the corner. The small space smelled of damp and old cigarette smoke, but it was a temporary refuge. I sat by the bed watching her sleep, my heart tightening. She looked so fragile, as if a light touch could shatter her. I called my wife, whispering, "Honey, I'm here." "Mom." She was beaten, probably by Sean. Sydney gasped, her voice anxious. "Oh God, are you okay? How's Mom? Do you need me there?" I shook my head, though she couldn't see. "I'm fine. Mom's resting. I'll handle it. Love you." I hung up, feeling emptier than ever. This was my fight, ours. In the motel, I tended to Mom carefully. I bought painkillers and ointment from a nearby convenience store, rebandaged her feet, and gently massaged them to restore circulation. She grew more alert but remained weak, sobbing softly as she recounted the story. "Sean changed after your father died. At first he came back to help me, but then he controlled everything, money, the house. He said I was old, needed protection. But really he's in debt, gambling." She rummaged through her tattered leather purse, pulling out a crumpled folded paper. "Here, the transfer document. He forced me to sign it last night before he hit me. I hit it, ran out." I unfolded the paper under the dim yellow light. A legal contract transferring the house, land, and savings to Wyoming Holdings LLC, a company with Sean's signature as representative. My heart raced. This wasn't just abuse, it was legalized robbery. As I wiped Mom's face with a damp cloth, trying to soothe the bruises on her cheek, a sharp sound cut through the motel room's quiet. Mom's phone buzzed from her old coat hanging by the bed, its insistent vibration like a warning. I froze, my heart pounding, a bad feeling creeping in. I grabbed the phone. The screen lit up with 3 missed calls from Sean, his name like a knife carved into my chest, and a new voicemail sent just minutes ago. I glanced at Mom. She was watching me, her red eyes filled with that familiar fear from the nights Dad raged in his drunken stupor. She nodded slightly as if giving permission, but her hand clutched the blanket's edge, trembling. I took a deep breath, pressed play, and Sean's voice came through, growling, venomous like a cornered beast. "You dare run away, you old hag? I'll find you, and this time I'll hit harder, got it? Sign that paper or I'll make you a laughingstock in front of the whole town. Don't you dare snitch, or you're dead." His threat was like a cold gust through the room, making me shudder. I felt the cruelty in every word, the control he'd learned from Dad, but now laced with greed. I hit save instantly, my hands shaking with rage and adrenaline. This wasn't just a message, it was hard evidence, his voice, a clear threat like a knife at Mom's throat. I turned to Mom, my voice trembling, unable to hide the fury boiling inside. Mom, this isn't just abuse anymore. Sean's not just beating you, he wants to steal everything from you, from us. She lowered her head, tears streaming down her bruised cheeks, her voice choked as if confessing a lifelong sin. I know, son. I know he's like your father, using violence to control, to force me to obey. But now he's greedier, wants the money, the land, everything. I was wrong, Patrick. I favored him, thinking keeping him close would hold the family together, but I was wrong. She broke down, hugging me, and I felt the weight of her pain. Years of enduring Dad, then Sean. I held her tightly, my own tears falling, mingling with her hair. Memories flooded back. Nights when Mom wiped blood from her face after Dad's blows, times she told me don't tell anyone to keep the family intact. And times Sean punched me, mocked me as weak, while Mom watched, choosing to protect him to avoid trouble. But now, seeing her tremble in my arms, I knew she wasn't just a victim. She was a mother who'd tried her best, despite her mistakes. And I, the son who left, now had to make it right. That night in the musty motel room, I didn't sleep a wink. Mom slept deeply, her frail breaths mingling with the creaky hum of the heater. I sat by the bed watching her, my mind reeling with what I'd uncovered. The transfer document, Sean's threatening voicemail, and his scheme to seize her assets. But I knew that to confront him I needed more, irrefutable evidence. The old house in Sheridan where I grew up, filled with shadows, was the starting point. Sean didn't know I was back. I'd catch him off guard, search the place, find more clues. The thought made my heart pound with both fear and resolve. The blizzard outside had calmed, but the storm inside me was just beginning. At dawn, as faint light pierced the curtains, I left a note for Mom. Going to get food. Rest, Mom. It was just an excuse. I put on my jacket, pulled on a wool cap, and drove toward the old house. The familiar road was gut-wrenching. Leafless trees, snow-covered wooden houses, the faint smell of wood smoke in the frigid air. Sheridan was unchanged, but I was no longer the trembling kid from back then. I was Patrick Bamford, a man who'd learned to stand firm against punches, both literal and figurative. The wooden house appeared at the end of the street, half hidden behind a broken fence. Peeling paint, snow-laden shingles, yet it stood there, a silent witness to years of violence. My heart tightened as I parked in the yard. Memories flooded back. Dad's drunken shouts, Mom's muffled sobs, Sean's mocking laughter as he locked me out in the snow. I took a deep breath, stepped out of the truck, the cold biting my skin. I knocked on the door, the sound echoing in the early morning stillness. No answer. I knocked harder, and this time slow footsteps approached from inside. The door opened, and Victoria, Sean's wife, stood there, arms crossed, eyes cold as ice. She wore a thick sweater, hair tied high, her sharp face dripping with contempt. "Patrick!" Her voice was shrill, a mix of surprise and irritation. "What are you doing here?" "Sean's not home. This is our house now. You have no right to be here." She blocked the doorway, shoulders squared as if to push me out. I clenched my fists, staying calm. "I need to see Mom." "Where is she?" I asked, though I knew Mom was at the motel. Victoria sneered, her red lips curling. "The old lady?" She ran off. "What do you want, huh? Don't make trouble." I didn't answer, shoving the door open and stepping past her. Victoria shrieked, "What are you doing? Get out!" But I didn't stop. The house was dark, reeking of old wood and cigarette smoke. I strode into the living room, the heart of my childhood nightmares. On the wall, a large photo hit me like a punch. A family picture, Dad, Mom, Sean smiling brightly on some long-ago summer day. But where was I? My image had been cut out, leaving a distorted, empty space beside Mom. My heart ached. They'd erased me from the family as if I'd never existed. Victoria stood behind me, her voice mocking. "What, surprised? You left, so don't expect a place in this house." I swallowed hard, heading straight to Mom's room at the end of the hall. The door was ajar. I pushed it open, feeling like I was stepping into the past. The room was unchanged. Old wooden bed, faded floral curtains, the faint scent of Mom's perfume. But on the desk, I saw a small cardboard box labeled with my name in black pencil. My heart raced. I opened it and forgotten pieces of my life spilled out. A crumpled high school diploma, a photo of me at 5 hugging a soccer ball, birthday letters from Mom never sent. Dear Patrick, I'm so proud of you. One letter trailed off, ink smudged with tears. Each item was a knife, proof Mom had thought of me but tucked me away, perhaps out of guilt for favoring Sean. I sank to the floor, hands trembling as I held the letter. Memories flooded back. Mom wiping blood from my face after Sean's punches, telling me to forgive your brother. She loved me, but she chose Sean to keep the peace. Now seeing these items, I understood how much it hurt her when I left. Victoria stood at the door, her voice acidic. Your stuff. No idea why the old lady kept it. Grab that junk and get out. She turned and walked away, leaving me alone in Mom's room. Then I noticed a small object on the bookshelf, a hidden camera tucked behind an old photo frame. My heart pounded. Had Mom set this up? I checked it. The cord was plugged in, a faint red light blinking. I connected my phone to the camera's memory. Videos loaded, and I nearly stopped breathing. Sean in this very room yelling in Mom's face, "Sign it, old lady! Don't make me teach you again!" He slapped her. She fell onto the bed, sobbing. Victoria stood at the door, arms crossed, face cold, not saying a word. Another video showed Sean punching Mom in the stomach for refusing to hand over documents. I clenched my teeth, hot tears welling. Mom had secretly recorded it, a silent cry for help. I saved every video to the cloud, my hands shaking with rage. This was evidence, undeniable. I left Mom's room and headed to my old bedroom, now Sean's office. Once my refuge for reading, escaping violence, it was now filled with papers and a computer. I rifled through the desk, heart racing. A thick folder fell from a loosely locked drawer labeled Wyoming Holdings LLC. I opened it, and everything became clear. Contracts, invoices, printed emails, all tied to Sean's shell company and a partner named Richard Holt. They targeted the elderly, coercing them to sign over assets, then legitimized it through the company to sell off or launder money. Mom wasn't the only victim. A long list of names, lonely elderly women in Sheridan and nearby areas. Sean wasn't just repeating Dad's violence for control, he was crueler, turning abuse into a money-making machine. I snapped photos of every page. Each piece of evidence was a bullet to bring Sean down. But I knew he wouldn't stop easily. He was like Dad, manipulative, using fists to force submission. But while Dad only destroyed our family, Sean was destroying Mom's life and those of other vulnerable women. Suddenly, Victoria burst into the room, eyes blazing. "What are you doing in my husband's office? Get out!" she screamed, trying to snatch the folder from my hands. I pushed her back, my voice cold. "I know everything, Victoria. The shell company beating my mom, stealing her assets. You watched him hit her, didn't you?" She laughed, her red lips curling in scorn. "Oh, the runaway son playing hero now. You've been weak since you were a kid. What can you do? Useless. Get out and don't meddle in grown-up business." Her words cut like knives, but I didn't waver. I stepped toward the door, turning back to her. "You and Sean will pay. I promise." Victoria stood frozen, eyes burning, but I didn't care. I walked out to the yard, Sheridan's cold wind whipping my face, snow clinging to my jacket. In my hand, my phone felt heavy with evidence, videos of Sean beating Mom, documents about Wyoming Holdings, and the threatening voicemail. Each file was a bullet, and I was ready to fire. The old wooden house faded into the distance as I approached my pickup truck parked by the broken fence. My heart still pounded, adrenaline surging after what I'd uncovered in Mom's room and my old bedroom. Childhood memories, Sean's punches, Dad's mocking laughter, Mom's silence, swirled in my head, but I was no longer the trembling kid. I was Patrick Bamford, a martial arts instructor who'd learned to stand firm against any blow. And this time, I'd fight back. Just as I opened the truck door, the roar of an engine echoed from the end of the street. A sleek black SUV screeched to a stop, tires crunching the snow. My stomach sank as I recognized it, Sean's car. He was back. I stood still, gripping my keys, my breath forming white clouds in the cold air. The SUV's door swung open and Sean stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, striding with the confidence of a ruler. He wore a leather jacket, his hair disheveled, but his eyes were sharp and cold, just like Dad's. Seeing me, he froze for a second, then flashed a sneer, revealing the cruelty I'd feared as a child. "Patrick?" His voice was low, drawn out, dripping with mockery. He stepped closer, hands in his pockets, sizing me up like prey. "What are you doing here? Want a beating like when you were a kid, you weak little punk?" He laughed loudly, the sound echoing in the icy yard, pulling me back to nights when he locked me out in the snow or punched me until my nose bled. Victoria stood in the doorway, arms crossed, lips curled in amusement as if watching a play. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady despite the rage boiling in my chest. "Sean, you think you can still bully me like before? I have everything. Videos of you beating Mom, documents about your shell company and your voicemail threatening her. You're going to rot in jail." My words were like a stone thrown into still water. Sean's smile vanished, his eyes narrowing, flashing a mix of panic and fury. Victoria stepped into the yard, her voice shrill. "What did you say? Evidence? You dared sneak into my husband's office and steal documents?" But Sean didn't let her finish. He roared, his violent nature erupting like a wildfire. "You touched my stuff?" He lunged at me, swift as a predator, his hand swinging to grab my phone. I stepped back instinctively, my body shifting into the defensive mode I'd honed for years at the dojo. Sean was bigger, but he didn't know I'd changed. I was no longer the kid he could push around. He swung a punch, heavy but clumsy, fueled by rage rather than skill. I dodged, feeling the whoosh of his fist graze my cheek. "Stop, Sean!" I shouted, but he didn't listen. He came at me again, his left fist aiming another blow, his right hand reaching for my phone. I blocked his punch with my forearm, pivoted, and used a judo lock to flip him onto the ground. Snow sprayed everywhere as Sean groaned in pain, sprawled on the frozen ground. Victoria screamed, stunned, rushing forward. "What are you doing, you maniac?" "Stop!" I stood tall, breathing heavily, watching Sean struggle to his feet, clutching his shoulder. His face was red, not from the cold, but from humiliation. "You!" he growled, but he didn't dare charge again. I locked eyes with him, my voice ice cold. "You beat Mom, stole her assets, manipulated her like Dad used to. But I'm not that kid anymore. I'm taking you to court, Sean, and you'll pay." I turned to Victoria, who stood frozen, mouth agape. "You too? You watched him hit her and did nothing? You're just as guilty." Sean staggered up, pointing at me, his voice hissing through clenched teeth. "You'll regret this, Patrick. I'll find you and that old hag too." But I wasn't afraid. I'd faced him, brought him down with the strength I'd built to escape his shadow. I got into the truck, slammed the door, and started the engine. Victoria ran after me, pounding on the window, cursing, "You're trash, useless, nobody needs you." Sean stood behind, shouting profanities, but I didn't look back. I hit the gas, the truck lurching out of the yard, leaving the furious couple in their powerless rage. As I drove back to the motel, my heart still raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The confrontation with Sean felt like the final battle of my childhood. This time, I didn't lose. I remembered the days he punched me, mocked me, when Dad called me weak. But now I'd proven otherwise. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was protecting Mom, protecting justice. My phone, heavy with undeniable evidence, was still in my pocket. I knew the real battle lay ahead, the courtroom where Sean would face what he'd done. The road back to the motel was quiet, snow falling lightly under Sheridan's dim streetlights. The blizzard had eased, but inside me another storm raged. Anger, determination, and a trace of fear. Fear that Mom might weaken again. Fear that Sean might find a way to turn the tables. But I wasn't the trembling kid from years ago. I'd trained in martial arts to stand firm, and now I'd use every ounce of my strength to protect Mom. When I pushed open the motel room door, Mom was sitting on the bed, clutching a cold cup of tea, her anxious eyes fixed on me. The bruise on her cheek was still swollen, but her gaze was brighter, as if she sensed the change in me. "Patrick, did you see Sean?" Her voice trembled with fear. I sat beside her, taking her hand, feeling her thin, cold fingers. "Yes, Mom. I went to the old house, found evidence. Videos of Sean hitting you, documents about his shell company stealing assets. Then I saw him. He came at me, but I took him down." I recounted it calmly, though my resolve shone through. Mom's eyes widened, tears streaming down. Are you hurt?" "Sean, he's strong." I smiled, shaking my head. "I'm fine, Mom. I'm not that kid anymore, but Sean won't stop. We have to take him to court, make him pay." Mom flinched, gripping my hand tightly. "No, Patrick. Don't make a big deal. He's your brother, family. If we go to court, everyone will know our family will be ruined." "I don't want that." Her voice choked, as if she was still clinging to the fragile facade of family she'd built over years. I sighed, a mix of anger and pity rising. "Mom, what family? He beat you, threw you out in a blizzard, tried to steal your assets. He doesn't see you as family. He wants money, control, just like Dad did." My words made her tremble. She bowed her head, tears falling onto her hands. I knew she was torn, between her love for Sean and the pain he caused. But I couldn't let her stay silent, as she always had. I stood, pacing the cramped motel room, searching for a way to convince her. "Mom, I know you want to keep the family together. But family isn't enduring violence. I've seen you wipe blood from your face after Dad's beatings, heard you say don't tell anyone to keep the peace. But at what cost? You lost your youth, your freedom. Now Sean's doing it again, worse. He's not just hitting you, he's trying to take everything you have. If Dad ruined your youth, Sean won't ruin the rest of your life." I knelt before her, holding her hands tighter. "I promise, from now on I'll take care of you. But those who hurt you have to pay, whether it's Sean or anyone else." Mom sobbed, hugging me like a child. "I was wrong, Patrick. I favored Sean, thinking keeping him close would save him. But he's too much like your father. I was afraid of losing both of you." I held her, feeling her frail body tremble. "You haven't lost me. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. But we have to stop this cycle. For you, for me, and for others Sean might hurt." She nodded, still hesitant. I knew facing Sean in court would be painful but necessary. That night I began organizing the evidence. Sitting on the motel's creaky wooden chair under dim yellow light, I opened my phone, reviewing each file. Videos from Mom's hidden camera, every blow Sean landed, Victoria's cold stare as she watched. The threatening voicemail, Sean's voice growling like a beast, documents about Wyoming Holdings LLC, listing other victims, elderly people coerced into signing over assets. Each piece was a hammer ready to shatter Sean's wall of lies. But I knew videos and documents weren't enough. I needed witnesses. I remembered Mrs. Linda, our old neighbor who lived next to Mom's house. She used to bring over cookies, saw Mom cry after Dad's beatings. I called her, whispering to avoid waking Mom. "Mrs. Linda, it's Patrick. I need your help. Sean's been beating Mom and I need you to testify." She sighed over the phone, her voice heavy with sorrow. "Oh, Patrick, I know. I've seen him yell at your mom, seen her limp in the yard with bruises. I'll testify. He can't keep doing this," I thanked her, feeling a mix of relief and determination. The next day I took Mom to a psychologist in Sheridan, Dr. Abigail Hayes. In the small, softly lit office, Mom sat across from Dr. Hayes, hands clasped tightly. I waited outside, but through the slightly open door I heard Mom's halting voice. I endured it from my husband, then my son. I thought silence would hold the family together, but I was wrong. Dr. Hayes gently guided her, helping her face the buried pain. After the first session, Mom emerged, eyes still red but her face lighter. "You're right, Patrick. I can't let Sean continue, but I'm scared. Scared to face him." I took her hand, my voice firm. "You're not alone. I'm here and we have evidence, witnesses. Sean won't get away." She nodded, this time with more certainty. The following sessions strengthened her resolve. Dr. Hayes helped her see that violence isn't love, that she deserved freedom. In each session, Mom shared more about enduring Dad, his blows, his curses, her silence to protect us. But she also admitted favoring Sean was her biggest mistake, thinking he needed her more than I did. "You were sensitive, strong in your own way. I thought you'd be fine. But Sean, I feared he'd go astray like your father." She cried as she spoke, and I could only hug her, promising she'd never be alone again. In the days that followed, I contacted a lawyer in Billings, Robert Klein, who specialized in domestic abuse and asset fraud cases. I sent him all the evidence, videos, voicemail, documents, and Mrs. Linda's information. Klein listened, his voice steady. "Patrick, you have a strong case. The videos and voicemail are enough for abuse charges. The Wyoming Holdings documents open the door to a fraud investigation. But your mom has to testify. Is she ready?" I looked at Mom sitting by the motel window watching the snow fall. "She'll be ready. I'll help her." The night before filing the lawsuit, I sat with Mom telling her about my daughter Natalie to make her smile. "You'll meet her soon, Mom. She's strong like you, but she won't have to suffer like you did." Mom smiled the first time I saw hope in her eyes. I held her hand, my voice steady. "Mom, I'll take care of you from now on. Sean and Victoria will pay, not just for you, but for everyone they've hurt. We'll break this cycle." She nodded, tears falling, but this time they were tears of release. I stood looking out the window. Sheridan was quiet, but I knew the upcoming trial would shake this town. Sean wouldn't give up easily, but I was ready. With evidence in hand, witnesses behind us, and Mom slowly regaining her strength, I knew I wasn't just fighting for justice. For Mom, for me, and for those trapped by violence, I was fighting for a new beginning. After the sessions with Dr. Abigail Hayes, Mom grew stronger, but moments of anxiety still crept in. "Patrick, I'm scared of facing court, and I don't want Sean to end up in prison." I held her hand, my voice firm yet gentle. "Mom, Sean stopped being your son when he beat you, threw you out and tried to steal your assets. I know you love him, but love isn't enduring violence. You stayed silent for Dad, don't stay silent for Sean." She cried but nodded. "You're right. I'll try. I have to do this. For you, for me." The day of the trial arrived, and the air in the Sheridan courthouse was heavy like the sky before a storm. I sat beside Mom, her cold, trembling hand gripping mine. Sean sat at the defendant's table, dressed in a black suit, his eyes still sharp and defiant. Victoria sat behind him, her face stiff, red lips pursed tightly. I felt the weight of the town's gaze, neighbors, Mom's old friends, even people who knew Dad, focused on us. News of the lawsuit had spread through Sheridan, and I knew today wasn't just about the Bamford family. It was a declaration against violence and fraud. The judge, a stern middle-aged woman, banged her gavel. "We begin the trial of Mr. Sean Bamford on charges of domestic abuse and attempted asset theft. Mr. Klein, for the plaintiff, please proceed." Robert stood, his voice clear and cutting. "Your Honor, we have videos from a hidden camera installed by Mrs. Donna Bamford capturing the defendant, Sean Bamford, assaulting his mother. We also have a threatening voicemail, documents about a shell company used for asset theft, and testimony from a neighbor." A large screen in the courtroom lit up, playing the hidden camera footage. Mom's gasps echoed through the speakers, followed by Sean's growl, "Sign the papers or I'll keep hitting." A slap rang out. Mom fell onto the bed, sobbing. Victoria stood in the doorway, arms crossed, face emotionless. The courtroom fell silent, broken only by muffled sobs from the audience. I looked at Mom. She bowed her head, tears streaming, her hand squeezing mine painfully. I hugged her, whispering, "You're so strong, Mom. We're doing the right thing." Next, Robert played the voicemail. Sean's venomous voice filled the room. "You dare run? I'll find you, hit you harder if you don't obey. Sign the papers or I'll humiliate you." Murmurs rippled through the room. I glanced at Sean. He sat motionless, but his clenched fists betrayed his suppressed rage. Victoria lowered her head, her confidence faltering for the first time. Robert continued, presenting the Wyoming Holdings LLC documents detailing how Sean and his partner targeted the elderly, coercing asset transfers. "This isn't just domestic abuse, Your Honor, but an organized scheme preying on the vulnerable, like Mrs. Donna Bamford." Mrs. Linda, the witness, took the stand. Her voice trembled but was clear. "I saw Sean yell at Donna, saw her limp in the yard with bruises. I heard her cry at night, 'I can't stay silent anymore.'" When it was the defense's turn, Sean's lawyer, a short man with a shrill voice, stood. "Your Honor, this is a fabricated case driven by Patrick Bamford's jealousy. He's been estranged for years and now seeks to ruin his brother. These videos could be edited, and Mrs. Donna is unreliable due to her age and mental state." Sean nodded, his gaze sliding to me, full of contempt. He stood, his voice smooth. "Patrick's always been jealous because Mom loved me more. He's making this up for revenge. I never hit her. I was just protecting her." His words cut like a knife, but I stayed calm, looking at Mom. She trembled, but her eyes shifted from fear to resolve. The judge addressed her gently. "Mrs. Donna Bamford, do you wish to speak?" Mom took a deep breath, stood leaning on me. The courtroom was deathly silent, every eye on her. Her voice shook but rang clear, breaking a lifetime's wall of silence. "I stayed silent when my husband was alive. I endured his blows, his curses, to keep the family together. I thought silence was love, sacrifice, but I was wrong. Sean, my son, beat me, forced me to sign papers for his gain. I was scared, but today I choose the truth. I don't want anyone to suffer like I did." Her words were like thunder, shaking the courtroom. Murmurs erupted, some in the audience cried. Sean's face paled, his eyes panicked. Victoria covered her face as if her reputation was crumbling. I hugged Mom, tears falling. "You did amazing," I whispered. She gave a weak smile, but I saw freedom in her eyes. The cycle of silence from Dad to Sean was broken. The judge banged her gavel, her voice stern. "Based on the evidence and testimony, this court finds Mr. Sean Bamford guilty of domestic abuse and attempted asset theft. Custody and protection of Mrs. Donna Bamford are granted to Mr. Patrick Bamford." She nodded to me. Tears streamed down Mom's face. Sean was handcuffed, his hate-filled eyes locked on me, but I wasn't afraid. He'd lost. Victoria bolted from the room, unable to face anyone. The Bamford family reputation, which she and Sean had clung to, was shattered. But the story didn't end there. The Wyoming Holdings LLC documents were handed to state investigators. A week later, Klein informed me. The lawsuit had sparked a larger investigation into elder asset fraud, with Sean and his partner Richard Holt at the center. Other victims, lonely elderly women in Sheridan and nearby areas, began speaking out, inspired by our case. I knew justice wasn't just for Mom, but for all those manipulated and abused. After the trial, I brought Mom back to the motel. She hugged me, her voice choked. "Thank you, Patrick. I was wrong to stay silent. I'm free now." I smiled, holding her tighter. "We're free, Mom." Sheridan, once a prison of violence, was now where I reclaimed our family. Not one of blood, but of truth and healing. After the trial, I decided to bring Mom to Billings, where I'd built a new life with my wife and 3-year-old daughter, Natalie. Our modest home sat on the outskirts, a warm place with a white picket fence and a small garden Sydney tended lovingly. As the truck pulled up, Mom looked out the window, her voice trembling. "This is your house? It looks so peaceful." I took her hand, smiling. "It's your home too, if you want it." She nodded, tears streaming down, but this time they were tears of hope. Sydney ran out to greet us, hugging Mom tightly as if she were her own mother. "Mom, come inside, I made cookies," Sydney said, her voice radiant. Natalie, with her messy blonde hair, toddled after, hugging Mom's legs, looking up with big round eyes. "Grandma, you staying with me?" Mom smiled, bending to stroke her hair. "Yes, I'm staying with you." In that moment, watching Mom and Natalie hold hands as they walked inside, I felt my heart lighten as if Sheridan's shadows were dissolving. We began a new life. Mom settled into a small room Sydney prepared with floral curtains and an armchair by the window. I took her for regular health checkups and continued therapy with Dr. Carter via video calls from Sheridan. In each session, Mom opened up more, sharing the years of enduring Dad, her mistake in favoring Sean, and the pain of my leaving. "I thought silence protected you and Sean, but I was wrong." "I hurt you, Patrick," she said, her voice choked. I held her hand, comforting her. "You did what you thought was right then. Now we have each other and we'll heal." Mom found joy in the small backyard garden. One winter morning, she grabbed a shovel, donned a wool cap, and started digging to plant flowers. "I want to grow tulips like when I was young," she said, her eyes sparkling. I helped her, both of us kneeling on the cold ground, planting tiny bulbs under a thin layer of snow. "They'll bloom in spring, right, Mom?" I asked. She nodded, smiling. "Yes, like us, Patrick. After a harsh winter, there's always spring." Seeing Mom plant flowers, dirt on her hands and a smile on her lips, was a symbol of rebirth. She was no longer the woman curled up in the snow, but someone reclaiming her life. While Mom started anew, the trial's aftermath unfolded. Sean was detained, facing charges of domestic abuse and attempted asset theft. Lawyer Klein informed me that the Wyoming Holdings LLC investigation had expanded, exposing a network of elder fraud across Wyoming and neighboring states. Sean and his partner, Richard Holt, faced additional charges of fraud and money laundering. The news spread through Sheridan, and the Bamford name, once something Mom fought to preserve, became a source of shame. I knew it hurt Mom to hear neighbors gossip, but she no longer hid. "I chose the truth, Patrick," she said. "It hurts, but I don't regret it." Victoria, Sean's wife, took a heavy blow. After the trial, she vanished from Sheridan for weeks, but I heard she returned, living quietly in the old wooden house. Without Sean, she lost her anchor and the arrogance she once had. Mrs. Linda said Victoria was shunned by friends, her reputation ruined when people learned she watched Sean beat Mom without intervening. I didn't feel triumphant hearing this, only pity. She was a victim of her own choices, standing by an abuser for greed and power. And justice had finally spoken. Every mistake has a price. In the months after the trial, I realized something profound. Family isn't blood if blood brings only violence. Dad used fists to control, Sean followed to manipulate, but Mom and I broke that cycle. True family is those who face pain together, learning to heal. Sydney, with her unconditional love, was family. Natalie, with her innocent laughter, was family. And Mom, with her courage to stand up in court, was family. We weren't just living together. We were rebuilding trust day by day. Spring arrived sooner than I expected. The tulip bulbs Mom planted began to sprout, tiny green shoots pushing through the cold soil. One morning, I saw Mom kneeling by the flower bed, stroking the young leaves, her eyes shining. "Look, Patrick. They're alive," she said, her voice childlike. I knelt beside her, smiling. "Like you, like us." Natalie ran out, clutching a small watering can, eagerly helping her grandma. Sydney stood at the door watching us, her smile radiant. In that moment, I knew we'd found each other, not just as mother and son, but as a new family, free from violence's shadow. I often thought of Sheridan, the old wooden house, the freezing nights Sean locked me outside. Those memories didn't vanish, but they no longer controlled me. I'd learned to forgive not Sean or Dad, but myself for leaving, for thinking Mom didn't need me. Mom was learning to forgive herself too, for her years of silence. We healed not by forgetting, but by facing it step by step. That spring, when the tulips bloomed in vibrant red, yellow, and white across the garden, I stood beside Mom, gazing at the vivid colors. "Beautiful, isn't it, Mom?" I said. She nodded, holding my hand. Freedom, Patrick. This is freedom. I looked at Natalie playing, Sydney smiling on the porch, and Mom, the woman who once huddled in the snow, now standing tall, her eyes bright. After generations of abuse, we'd broken the cycle. This new spring wasn't just about blooming flowers. It was the freedom of Mom, of me, and of the family we built from healed wounds.